Are you constantly getting collection calls from different agencies, or are they threatening you with potential lawsuit through different letters? Are you struggling to figure out how you're going to even pay this? Well, we're going to cover all of that and more. So let's get right into it. Welcome to Ascend Finance's YouTube channel, where we cover debt collection and help you understand the costs, pros, and cons to help you be more informed and get you out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster. My name is Justin, and let's get started. In this video, I'm going to cover how to deal with debt collectors when you can't pay. Now, with that all said, this is clearly not legal advice, but really just for information only. The few things that I'm going to cover is first steps to dealing with debt collectors, kind of what that looks like. The second thing is going to be what debt collectors can and can't actually do. Third is what should or what needs to potentially be paid first. And then finally, what your options are to get out of this debt. Now, as we understand that everyone's situation is unique, we actually built a free debt relief cost and duration calculator that I included in the description below that'll bring you the idea of what the cost will look like, the duration, and the pros and cons for each option. Now, we understand that this could be overwhelming, so if you have questions at all, feel free to request to speak with an analyst like me, and I'll be happy to speak with you. Also, if you've liked this video and it ends up being helpful, feel free to leave a like below, as it's always encouraging for us to see. And as well, if you want to see more content down the road, feel free to subscribe, as we're always trying to put out new videos each week. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, what is your first step when dealing with debt collectors? Well, here are just a few things that you may be able to do right now. Well, one is potentially understand what your rights are under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And I'll potentially put a link in the description for you to check that out. The second, you probably want to prioritize what should be paid and what you may not be able to pay. Then you would want to make a list of all the debts that you owe, including the ones that are in, collections. Fourth, review your options for getting out of the debt. And that's where we'll help out at the end of this video. So there is actually an 11-word phrase that you can use to stop debt collectors immediately. This will potentially give you time to consider your options. Now, you can take this further by asking them not to email, send you mail, or text message you, but the phrase is, please cease and desist all calls and contact with me immediately. So with that said, let's move on to kind of what debt collectors can and can't do. So with that all said, I want to start with what these collectors actually may have the right to do. So unfortunately, they have potentially the right to contact you by any means, which could look like calling you, emailing you, texting you, but I believe this has to be between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. So they may send letters demanding payments, they may call your spouse or maybe a potential other family member. Ideally, they're just trying to get you to make the payments on the debt before the statute of limitations, that deadline for the collection of the debt. So they may even file a lawsuit to try to collect on the debt. Now, what they actually can't do is they can't threaten you necessarily. They can't use profane or obscene language. They can't repeatedly call you to harass you. They can't necessarily lie to you or pretend to be an attorney from like a government agency. They can't tell you that you'll be arrested if you don't pay a debt. They can't claim that they have taken legal action when they really haven't, or continue to call you or contact you even if you've told them in writing by certified mail to stop contacting you, talk to other people about your details of your debt, garnish your wages without a court order, unless it's like a student loan, IRS debt, or other debts that's actually owed to the government. But they really shouldn't be able to do any of that. Now, the big question is, what has to be paid first? Well, prioritize what you need to pay. Your basic needs come first, right? And so it's maybe a good idea to create a household budget, which allows you to understand, how much money you can afford to pay each month towards each account. So the question next would be, then what do I owe? Well, it's a good idea to make a list of all of the debts you owe, including the amount, the type of debt, and who you owe, the creditor's name. So in addition to that though, you may want to make a note of the debt collector's name and contact information if the account's actually in collections, because you'd probably be negotiating or working with them on resolving the account at that point. Next, you're probably going to want to know what the actual balance is of each account. That would help prevent you from actually overpaying on an account. So finally, let's go through what your options could look like to actually resolving these accounts and getting out from the debt. We understand that you want to pay your debts. However, life events happen, and that could put you in a financial hardship, that snowball in terms of a mountain of debt. And so now you're trying to figure out, what can I do? Well, if you have debts that you cannot pay, there is hope. So Ascend helps you explore numerous ways to eliminate the debt so you can get the fresh start you're looking for. One would be like a planned payment with debt collectors. So you may be able to negotiate a payment plan with a collector. However, they can refuse a payment plan or demand larger payments. There are pros and cons to this, so make sure you're fully aware of what's going on before you agree to anything. Now, debt collectors may file a debt collection lawsuit at any time. Even if you're making scheduled payments, you must keep detailed records of each payment and a running balance of the debt. Now I want to help you understand between the two options of debt settlement versus debt management. There are pros and cons to both, which I can go in detail with you if you want to call or text us, but for now, I'll stay high level. So with debt settlement, this is basically the process of negotiating with a creditor for a lower amount, whether it's over a period of time, let's say 12 payments, or if it's in a lump sum settlement. Debt management is more so negotiating and lowering the interest rates. So one is getting the balances reduced, one is getting the interest rates reduced. Now, just to be aware, these companies charge, fees for their service. So it's very important for you to understand exactly what they're charging you, and not that you're just aware that it's in the payment plan, but what you're paying just to them through the entire program. Now, another couple of option would be filing a bankruptcy. So most times you may be looking at either a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. A Chapter 7 is more of the traditional bankruptcy that people may be more familiar with, where it wipes out the debt. Now, you may be at risk of losing potential property or assets, but each state, or most every state, has exemptions that will protect your belongings from being liquidated. So you can speak with us and I can help you understand what, if you have any belongings at risk. Now, with a Chapter 13, that's more of a repayment plan, and it's subject based on your disposable income for the most part. A few other things, but mainly basically what you have left over after all of your expenses. As we know, that can be a little overwhelming and complex. You can actually take our free Chapter 7 or our Chapter 13 bankruptcy calculator. That'll help you A, understand whether maybe bankruptcy is right for you, B, what the cost would look like all in for each option, and what the pros and cons would look like comparatively to do. And you can compare those to the other options like debt settlement and debt management as well. If you're also confused after that, you can request to speak with me, or you can speak with someone else here, and we'll help you understand, what it would look like for your situation specifically, as we do understand that everyone's situation is unique. Now, with all that said, I do hope this video has been somewhat helpful to you. If you have any questions at all, again, feel free to give us a call or text at 833-272-3631, or leave a comment down below. There may be other people with the same question, and ideally, I can answer a lot of people at once. Thanks again for watching. I'm always here if you have questions.